the women, we've come to drum. We are the channel between the earth and the sun. We hold the wisdom of the ancient ways. We will bring peace to these troubled days.
Welcome to Visionary Vegan Woman. I'm your host, Kate Ballo, and I created this exciting event designed to empower women to step into their highest spiritual destinies, embody their feminine power, and answer the call of their souls when it comes to helping the animals and the earth. This powerful paradigm-shifting conversation will inspire us to be unstoppable in the face of fear and steadfast in holding the vision of the future we so desire to see manifest. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. I so appreciate you showing up for yourself, for the animals, for our beautiful Mama Earth. And I know you're going to be so happy you tuned in today because it's a truly special day. And it's my honor and great pleasure to be interviewing the founder and creator of the Gentle Barn Sanctuary. She is the author of one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. And I personally resonated with it so deeply, and it helped inspire my own forward motion into creating my most authentic and fulfilling life centered around helping animals. And her name is Ellie Lax. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Yes, we're so excited to have you be a part of this global conversation. It's so important to get this message out there. And so for those of you who don't know Ellie yet, here's a little bit about this amazing woman who's truly living her sacred purpose and who has helped heal thousands of animals and children across America and hopefully one day all around the world. Ellie Lax is the founder of the Gentle Barn, a national nonprofit that rescues and rehabilitates unwanted animals and heals people with the same stories of abuse and neglect. She's an animal welfare advocate, humane educator, and the author of My Gentle Barn, Creating Sanctuary Where Animals Heal and Children Learn to Hope. Ellie founded the Gentle Barn in 1999, where she developed programs to facilitate mutual healing, where animals act as ambassadors of compassion to at-risk, underprivileged, and disabled children and adults. The Gentle Barn is home to more than 200 animals and has locations in California, Tennessee, and Missouri. Ellie's goal is to open Gentle Barns in every state. Yay, that's an amazing vision. And I think all over the world eventually, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ellie's topic is creating heaven on earth by redefining feminine power and spiritual destiny. This is like what I love. This is juicy for me. And I've been rereading Ellie's book. So My Gentle Barn is just amazing. And all of you who don't have it, you need to go out and get it. And it really goes through her own personal story in the beginning, which is very, if you're like a high empath, high sensitive, love animals, you will so identify and so relate. But what was really profound to me, Ellie, was how you overcame the loneliness and isolation of being born into the world with an extreme sense of empathy and compassion for our animal friends. You know, like being made fun of, not accepted, all of this, not being understood for who we truly are, that's really painful. And it's so real. And I know it myself, and the wounds really go deep. So I guess my question to you is, there's this point in the book where there's a hummingbird that hovers like in front of your face as a child, and you right before that moment, I think you wanted to leave this world. You were trying to leave this world because the pain was too great. So I'm wondering, how did that moment with the hummingbird change your life, change the trajectory of your life, and how did it help you to just stay with us in this world?
Yeah. So you're right. I was 7 years old and I didn't want to be here anymore. And I was trying to get out of my body. And I was unable to because I didn't know how to do it. I was just 7. And so I ran to the garden to cry. I was so frustrated. I didn't want to stay and I couldn't leave and I didn't know what to do. And I felt hopeless and I felt alone. And I think that that's a common thread with anyone that's suffering pain of whatever kind. I think that the common thread is we tend to think we're alone, no one understands us, it's us against the world, that we're completely isolated. And I think that that was the biggest pivotal moment when that hummingbird came and hovered in my face for what felt like forever, but really it was probably just 3 to 5 minutes. But he hovered there and this feeling of peace came over me, like it was gonna be okay. And he was beckoning me to stay, and he was seeing me and hearing me and choosing me. And you know, I went from feeling alone with no hope to feeling seen, supported, and loved, and kind of comforted that it would be okay. And I think that that's what animals do for us. They just see us and love us unconditionally, and it makes us feel like we're not alone. We have an ally. And the minute we feel unalone, then there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened for me. And it also connected me so, so deeply. I mean, I was born an animal lover. I think we all are. So, you know, the minute I could walk, I was running after dogs or playing in the lakes with the woods and in the woods with the animals. So I always loved animals. But it was a feeling of me seeing them for their beauty and their magic. But with that hummingbird, it was the hummingbird seeing me back and beckoning me as a part of nature and as a part of his tribe. And so there was a very deep belonging that all of a sudden I felt with nature and with all of life, that I wasn't just loving and seeing them, but they were loving and seeing me back. So I felt like I belonged to them. And it set me on a trajectory for the rest of my life, wanting to be an advocate for them and wanting to help them, heal them, and be their voice to the world, to people who couldn't hear them and see them. One of the things that was painfully clear when I was a child was that I saw something in animals that the people around me couldn't see. And so I think that moment with a hummingbird made me feel a part of nature and a part of animals, and I wanted desperately to be their voice to the people around me that couldn't hear them.
Mm-hmm. I can so identify with that, and just feeling that once we can connect, and as children we do this so easily, once we can connect with that web of life, we really feel empowered to step forward and to be the voice for the voiceless. And as we grow older, though, at least personally for me, I know that that connection to the web of life has, you know, gotten severed, and then I lose the, you know, I guess, yeah, because you want to be accepted. I want to be accepted. I want to be, you know, normal. I don't want to be this sensitive girl who, you know, this weird girl who just loves animals so much, you know. And so I totally understand exactly how you felt witnessed by this hummingbird. And yeah, I mean, today for me, I go into nature and I even feel the trees witnessing me, and that's revolutionary, because before that, you know, I felt like a loner in this world, like very separate, very looking outside of like a bubble, you know. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. It was such a beautiful thing to read, and also dovetailing from this nature concept of, like, you know, being connected with it and wanting to be a part of it and wanting to support it. There was this beautiful quote. I just have to read it because it just touched me so much. And it says, "The only thing that connected me to something outside my humanness was the warm honey haze scent of a horse's breath, or a blue iris poking up through the snow in spring, or a field full of butterflies." It's so beautiful. It also reminds me of the other time where you were at church and where you didn't resonate at all, and then you would go into the back field, and then that one time where you were covered with butterflies, they all came to you and they covered your body, and once again there you were, you know, your sacred purpose was to be connected and to go out into the world as a human representing, you know, nature and animals. So yeah, that's so beautiful. So let's see, like so many of us highly sensitive, empathic women who love animals, you had to hide your love of animals to feel accepted and seen as normal. So, because our culture is so backwards. When was the first time you felt like you could truly be you again, like an avid animal lover who would do anything to, help rescue and heal animals?
Honestly, not too long ago. Like you said, in all throughout high school and my early 20s, up until my 30s, really, it was just me just trying to be a normal human, which I failed at miserably. I mean, I'm not a normal human. My heart is so raw and open, and I connect to every living being and Mother Earth in a very, very deep way. And I tried to numb it out, and I tried to just act normal. And it really ended me up in some very dark places and dark times. Um, in my early 20s, I was trying so hard to be who I wasn't, and I was trying so hard to deny who I was, that it was excruciatingly painful in a soul level. And so I didn't notice it kind of in the beginning, but I started numbing myself out with boys and partying and alcohol and drugs, and just got into a very, very dark place. Because really, if you're going to deny who you are, then the only way you can function is to numb yourself out, because it's painful. And I remember on the tail end of a very long drug binge, kind of having this outer body experience where I was kind of like on the ceiling watching myself on the floor and going, oh my God, what are you doing? Where are we at? This isn't life. This isn't death. If you're so miserable here, get out of here. But otherwise, like, you can't do this anymore. And I thought that I was sitting down to kind of plan my exit. And to much of my surprise, I decided I wanted to stay and once and for all be who I came here to be, and embrace the fullness of me, and just walk my own path, no matter, and not care anymore about what others think. And so I started climbing slowly out of that hole I had dug for myself. And the only way I could dig successfully out of that hole was to embrace 100% who I was, to talk to animals, to hear them, to stand in my certainty of what they were telling me, to connect with nature and Mother Earth, to love animals, to hear them when they're calling me. And, the most fascinating thing about that journey, honestly, was the minute I embraced who I was and started walking the path that was etched out specifically for me, over time I realized I actually wasn't alone after all. There's so many people like you and all the listeners right now that are exactly like us. Yeah. Who knew? Like, here I was thinking I'm the only one and I have to be something I'm not to fit in. And then that was killing me. So then I embraced who I am. And now I'm surrounded by people that are exactly like us, that we're going to save this planet together. It's so wonderful. And it's not just a light switch that went on for me. Like I was denying who I was, and then now all of a sudden I switched the light switch and now I'm embracing who I am. It's been a journey since that first awakening that I want to stay here and I want to be who I am. But it's been a journey from then till now. I'm still fully awakening to who I am. There are still areas where I go, oh God, are they going to laugh at me? Oh God, is this too crazy to say out loud? There's still moments where I have to remind myself, no, stand in your certainty, be who you are, embrace who you are, say it. It doesn't matter if they think it's crazy or they laugh. It's still something I'm working through. It's still a journey of fully embracing who I am. And it's a wonderful journey. And I love every delicious minute of it.
Yes. Yes. And I think that will really resonate with our audience members, because it really is, it's the never ending journey, right? I mean, yes, I feel like I'm getting to new levels of authenticity, every chapter. I can't say every day because, I go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, there's those fears, and some of them are just ingrained in like my physical body. Like I know that I have like trauma from past lifetimes that are, holding me back from speaking my truth. Like, this has been, even just doing this creating this series and being visible and starting to really share my message and really share authentically about how I'm, very like a lover of Mother Earth and all things spiritual and women and goddess and all these things. It's scary. It was scary to say yes to this, but the importance of getting the message out there and staying true to who I am and what these urges are. These urges are not like just something like, trivial. These are our soul telling us, like, this is your next step. This is what you're meant to do. You're the piece of the puzzle that no one else can do in this world, So yes, all of you out there, all of you women listening, you have the key that no one else does to, driving this movement forward and to helping liberate all the animals. So don't let fear stop you. And stepping into your authentic self is the key. And then I find that miracles really start to happen and doors fly open. As soon as you say yes to those things that scare you, things happen. Just like me being on the call with you today. This is a miracle for me, for me saying yes to something that I was scared of, but I had a vision of collaborating with Ellie in some way, maybe like a year or 2 years ago, and here we are. And so, this is the grace. This is the grace we are given when we follow that call. Awesome. So let's get to some of the heartwarming, fuzzy stories about the sanctuary and like all the animals who live there. So how did the vision you had since you were a young girl to create a place for people and animals who felt different or alone to come together to heal finally really manifest into form?
Yeah, so this was my dream since I was 7, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have land, didn't have money, didn't even meet a farm animal until way later. And I held the vision in my head, though. I couldn't let go of the vision and the dream and the feelings inside my own body when I would think about having the gentle barn. I would vision all the animals I would get to love, and I would just live there in my mind, even though I hadn't taken steps to make it actually happen. And when I was a young adult, I was doing an errand and passed by a petting zoo I'd never seen before. And so I went in just to be nosy. And there were animals suffering terribly there, terribly. And the thing that struck me the most, worse than the overgrown toenails, worse than them beating ponies to keep going round in circles, worse than it being 110 degrees and no water for any of the animals. The thing that was absolutely the worst there was that the place was absolutely full of people that were all smiling and skipping and holding hands and taking pictures, and not one of them could see the suffering in front of them. And it filled me with sadness, but more fear, like fear for this planet. Oh my God, what have we become? We have become a group of people that are completely apathetic to anything else other than our own experience. And it filled me with so much fear for our species and for our fellow animal beings and Mother Earth, that, oh my God, what have we done? What have we become? And I had to get out of that petting zoo as fast as I could because it was so painful to be there and witness all that suffering. And blocking the exit was a very old goat that looked like she was about to drop dead any second. And she looked me deep into my eyes and she asked me for help, and she stopped me in my tracks. And so I lived in a small house with a half-acre backyard. So I figured, I guess I could bring home a goat. And I went to find the owner saying, can I have that goat? And she said, no. And I said, well, can I buy her? Name your price. She's going to die if like I can't turn my back on her. And she said, no, leave me alone. And I said, well, I'm going to stay here till you say yes. And I stayed there for 12 days. And on the 13th day, she came and found me and said, take the goat and get the heck out of here. So it's this whole amazing journey is in my book, My Gentle Barn. But to make the story a little shorter for today, I ended up bringing more animals home from that petting zoo until my backyard was full of animals. And one day I woke up in the morning and looked out my window to a backyard that was now full of animals and said, holy cow, I just started my dream. So, and then word quickly spread both spiritually to the animal world and just in the physical way. People started discovering that I was taking animals that had nowhere else to go. And my backyard filled very quickly with animals. And that was 20 years ago.
I love it. Oh, that's so beautiful. And I just want to let the audience members know, if you haven't read the book, Ellie did this all with her son in tow. She waited 12 days. It was 12 days, right? 12 days every day. And, you know, it's funny because often I find, as a mother of 3 small children, I'm like, I can't do as much as I want to do, you know, for the animals and for the earth. I have these children I have to care for, you know, but it's like, you grab the bull by the horns for real, and literally didn't let anything stop you, you know, and in doing that, you also were such a role model for your child, you know, and like being unstoppable in what you wanted to achieve. And, you know, and looking into Mary's eyes, that was it. You had to say yes, you know. There was no going ifs, ands, or buts. So I'm just bringing this up because we all have these things like, well, I would do that if, you know, or if I had time, or if I had money, or if I had this. But really, we can achieve anything we set our minds to. And that story to me is such a true testament to that. So thank you for sharing it. So, okay, let's see. Would you be able to tell us maybe the story about karma? Because I know, maybe just briefly, just to give the audience members and listeners, you know, kind of like a picture of, you know, how these creatures are such, you know, social animals, how they bond, and, you know, the mother-child bond, the familial bonds, you know, how strong they are and how real they are. I think Karma's story kind of really depicts that vividly.
Yeah, Karma's story is one of my all-time favorite stories because, like you just said, it just depicts the fullness of animals and the similarities between us. You know, we live in a culture that is covering Mother Earth up in concrete and shoving the animals out of our neighborhoods, and it's very easy for this mainstream consciousness to be like, oh, we're different and we're smarter and animals are dumb or dirty, and it just enhances this whole kind of ownership and domination that we have over animals and the separateness between us all. But the truth is that we're all the same. And so Karma's story really highlights this the best, I think. So I did a TEDx talk about her full story, but basically Karma is a cow that we rescued from an extreme cruelty case several years ago. And she came in with a few other cows. And she passed the vet check, and she had food and water and shelter and company. And the other cows were settling in just beautifully, but for whatever reason, Karma just kept crying, incessantly pacing back and forth and crying. And so I was very concerned that there was something physically wrong with her, but the vet could find nothing. She had everything that she needed. So I kind of said, well, you know, maybe she's having trouble settling in. Maybe she doesn't know our intentions. And that first night, my husband and I always sleep with the windows open so that if the animals need us during the night, we can hear them. And that night, no one got any sleep because she just kept incessantly mooing and crying. And I could tell she was in distress, but I just couldn't figure out about what or what to do for her. And finally, in the wee hours of the morning, I finally went down there to try to figure it out again. And she was dripping milk, which means that she had a baby. And her screaming was trying to tell us that she needed her baby. And so I called my husband, and he drove over there very, very quickly and was able, through an amazing set of circumstances, which is on my TED Talk, he was able to retrieve the baby and bring him home. And we knew the mom was beside herself without her baby. But that baby, I mean, one minute he had his mom and he was nursing and he felt safe and loved. And then the next minute he was tied up in the back of a pickup truck with nothing. And so he never thought he was going to see his mom again. So when we brought him out of the trailer and rounded the corner and he saw his mom for the first time, he was so flooded with so much relief that he literally passed out on the ground in front of her. And she went over to him and licked him and nudged him very gently with her nose and made soft sounds to him. And he finally had the strength and courage to stand up. And then she gave him a bath till he was soaking wet. And then he went to the side and nursed. And my daughter is now 13, but I had her on my hip. She was like a year and a half or 2 years old at the time. And she was on my hip. And I remember watching this, bawling my eyes out, thinking, here I have my little baby girl who's nursing, and she's my baby. And if anyone were to take her, it would be against the law. It would be illegal. It would be called kidnapping. And yet, at the snap of a finger, without blinking an eye, we can take Karma's baby away without anyone thinking anything different. She's screaming, nobody cares. And the lengths we had to go through to reunite them was one thing, but she's one out of billions of animals every year whose babies are ripped away from them, who scream on deaf ears, who don't get a reunion. And so it just drove that pain and that cruelty and that suffering home for me on behalf of the billions of animals that we didn't get to save. And it was just so painful. Anyway, we thought that Karma was going to live out the rest of her life with her baby here at the Gentle Barn, kind of happily ever after, end of story. But 8 months later, my staff came to me at the end of a long day and said that they were worried about Karma. And I said, oh my God, like, why do you think, what's wrong? And they said, well, her udders are swollen. So I said, oh no, do you think that she has an infection? And they said, no, I think she's about to give birth to another baby. So I couldn't believe it, because we rescued her with a tiny nursing baby. So I couldn't imagine them impregnating her right after she gave birth, but I guess that's what they do. And so sure enough, that night when I went to check on everybody, she was at the fence, and I said, Karma, are you okay? Aldo's worried about you. And she turned her body around, and there was a foot sticking out of her. And I was like, oh my God. And I ran up to the house, and I woke my husband up, and I woke the kids up, and I'm like, come on, we're having a baby. And we all ran down to the pasture. And this is where the story gets really, really good. We had 20 cows at the time. And when we got down there, every single solitary cow was in a perfect circle around Karma. And so me and my husband and my children took our place in the circle, and we watched as she labored and she contracted and she pushed, and we watched her have her baby, and we watched her lick him off and dry him up. And we watched him struggle to stand and learn how to walk and figure out how to nurse. And the whole thing took 2 hours, and not one single solitary one of us moved. We were all just watching and being that circle to support her. And then when the baby had drunk his fill, he laid down to sleep off the birth, at which point all the cows simultaneously broke the circle and formed a single file line in front of the baby. And when the line was fully formed, the matriarch in the front of the line went over to the baby, and she introduced herself, and she welcomed him, and she licked him and smelled him. And when she was done, she moved off, and the second in line met him, and the third in line introduced herself, and the fourth in line welcomed him, until every member of that family had welcomed that baby into their arms and into their lives. And when all the cows were done, me and my husband and my children took our turn introducing ourselves to the baby. And then we all sat down on the ground under the moonlight with smiles on our faces and watched him sleep. And that's family. That's a celebration of life and of birth. And that's what animals do all the time when allowed to. But unfortunately, in the real world, animals aren't allowed to have families. They're not allowed to fall in love and stay together. They're not allowed to raise or nurture their babies. And so these beautiful celebrations of life and mourning death and raising each other's babies and that beautiful family that we get to see at the sanctuary every single day doesn't exist in the rest of the world. So I felt incredibly grateful to be part of that. And I love telling her story, because if more and more people know that cows have beautiful, rich families, and they participate in raising each other's babies, and they have a birth ritual and a death ritual, and they meditate every day, and they're intelligent and giving and full of grace, the more people that know that, the more people can awaken to the love inside our hearts to stop participating in eating animals and having more reverence for them.
Whew. Wow. That story is unbelievable. It's so beautiful. I had goosebumps like the whole time. Wow. Wow. That's just so amazing. And it's unbelievable how strong the conditioning can be, because even for an avid animal lover like me, I disconnected from, you know, feeling that animals such as cows and pigs and chickens and fish had feelings and these, you know, family bonds as well. Like I went along with the masses. I went along with that consciousness for far too long, you know, and it's pretty scary how someone, you're born so pure and so uncorrupted, I guess you could say, and you could just fall right into, you know, I mean, as soon as a baby is, you know, big enough to be fed by their parents, you know, their well-intentioned parents, you know, you're being fed animal pieces and body parts, and that's where it starts. And that's my story too, sadly. You know, I really didn't think about, when I would pass farms for many years, I was so disassociated with what they were going through. And now it's so painful to just even drive by a dairy farm or any kind of farm. But, you know, it's just, yeah, that's why the work that you do, Ellie, is just so crucial. I mean, I know that, you know, going to a sanctuary and like literally, you know, petting a cow or hugging a cow, as you like to say, you know, and, you know, seeing them with these little bows in their hair, so cute when you do that, you know, and just being with the animals, I think that is really what's going to transform that consciousness, because we can't, there's just this glass wall, I guess. And like you said, they're just hidden away from us. For the most part. And, you know, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, yeah, we would all be vegan, but they don't have glass walls. So thank you for sharing Karma's story. I think it's just so important to know that, to know how intelligent and how beautiful their bonds are.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, you know, I want to kind of comment on something that you said. You said that, like, we're born so one with everyone and connected with all of nature and all of animals, and our heart is open, and somewhere along the line we start being fed body parts, and then we start being trained by society that animals don't have feelings and they can't understand and they don't talk, and then we get farther and farther away from who we were intended to be. The good news is, and this is something that we do at the Gentle Barn quite often, is we kind of point out, like in the beginning of the Gentle Barn, the entrance at our first property, we had this huge peach and plum tree. And so people would literally have to walk through these giant succulent peaches and plums to get into the Gentle Barn. And we would kind of say to people, like, how did you feel when you saw those succulent plums and peaches? Didn't you want to take a bite? Like, didn't you start salivating and you just want to taste the juice of it? And they were like, oh my God, yes. And then we would say, now look at our beautiful, red, fuzzy, beautiful cow. Do you want to take a bite out of her? And they'd go, ooh, no. So we would kind of point out, like, one's food and one's not food. And we live in this society that has kind of trained us because of economics. It's not for any other reason. Big business has brainwashed us because of economics, all the different reasons why we should eat meat and da-da-da. And we've gone blind and allowed ourselves to be led in these packages at the market, kind of being disconnected to what it really is and who it really is. But if you really think about it, you wouldn't look at a fuzzy, adorable cow and want to take a bite. You would want to hug her and kiss her. And so making those connections and giving people chances to look in the eyes of these animals and cradle chickens in their arms, or cuddle turkeys, or hug cows and give pigs tummy rubs, it makes those connections, and it makes it harder for them to be in denial, and hopefully allows them to awaken.
Yes, definitely. Yes, that's why sanctuaries like yours and all the other amazing ones that are doing such beautiful work are crucial to the next chapter of, you know, manifesting that heaven on earth, you know. So I guess let's because I know that this has been a vision that I've held in my heart as well. So I'm assuming that a lot of our listeners may have similar feelings. So what would you tell the woman listening who may have a vision similar to yours, like maybe to start a sanctuary one day, or just a knowing in their hearts that they want to dedicate their life to help relieve animal suffering in some way? What is the key thing that they should know about this vision or dream they hold in their hearts, and how they can begin taking action to make it real?
So I love that question, and I have a lot to say about that topic. I think that we're born knowing who we are and knowing what we've come here to do. And just like we get disconnected from our hearts and the love that we have for animals, we also get disconnected from our own intuition and from knowing who we are and what we've come here to do. Especially in school, like school kind of teaches us to go against our own instincts and our own impulses. So, as children, we have instincts and impulses to want to do something or explore something or smell something or touch something. And through school, it's no, sit down, be quiet, raise your hand, wait for your turn. And it kind of removes ourselves from our own selves. And so this awakening journey is not just about awakening to the love of animals, awakening to that we don't want to eat them or exploit them or hurt them. It's really, the journey really is to awaken to ourselves, to awaken and remember who we are and why we've come and what gifts do we have inside of ourselves to share with the world. Every single solitary one of us has gifts that we've come here to share with the world. And the way that we know what those gifts are is because when we're doing those gifts, we feel more alive than anything else. So if we're a painter, when we're painting, we are totally in present time. We are fully encompassed with who we are, and we feel more alive than anywhere else. The same thing when I'm healing an animal or hosting a group of kids. I feel like I could fly. I feel like I'm superhero, superhuman. I feel more alive and more myself than anything else. So that's how we know when we're living our gift. And then those impulses, those intuitions, like for me, it was to camp out at a petting zoo for 12 days. For another person, it might be, oh, that's the dog at the shelter I need to pull out. For another person, we all have those moments where we are drawn and pulled to something, and we have the inspiration pouring through us, and we feel like to ignore it would be to die. Like we have to do it. Those are the impulses that we're meant to follow. And I would just say, follow those impulses. It doesn't matter like, oh, but what about this? And oh my God, what about that? Like remove the fear and remove the thinking and follow those impulses. And those impulses will guide us and lead us to what we're supposed to do and to who we are. And the feeling of fulfilling those impulses and fulfilling those intuitions, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And the thing that I'd like to say about it is our job to know the what and the why of our dreams. For me, it was one day I'm going to have a big place full of animals and I'm going to show the world how beautiful they are, right? So that's the what. And to hold on to the what, to feel the texture and the smells and the softness and the feelings of joy and peace of having it, and really get into the emotions of having the what like we have it now, and just hold on to the feelings in meditation, in dreams, before we go to sleep at night. For me, I like to sing. So when I'm trying to manifest something, I make silly songs up about it. But I mean, some people like to paint. So paint your vision, paint your dreams, or write poetry about your dreams, whatever channel you like to do, or just talk about it with someone that will listen without squashing your dreams. But get into the feelings like you have it now. Get excited about having your dreams. So that's the what. The why is, again, like, well, why do you want to have a sanctuary? Or why do you want to become an artist? Or why do you want to become a singer? Or why do you want to have this wonderful show that I get to be on today? Really know for certain why you're doing it. And why really is because it makes you feel alive. Because it makes you feel larger than life, because it makes you feel like you're of service, because it makes you feel like you're connected to your angels and your guides, because it makes you feel connected to who you are. And once you're 1,000% clear of the what and the why, and you're constantly feeling that, the how will come. The how is not our problem. And I think that a lot of people throw away the what and the why because they think the how is impossible. And so my biggest advice and message to whoever's listening that might have a dream in your hearts is to not worry about the how. That is going to come. Be clear on the what, be clear on the why, vision your dream every single day like you have it now. Feel those feelings of accomplishment and peace and excitement and joy, and the how will find you when you follow those impulses. So I've been dreaming about the gentle barn since I was 7 years old. I didn't know how, but I would sit in school and I would doodle animals until my desk, my notebook, and my arms were covered in pictures of animals. And before I went to sleep at night, I would vision how I would love these animals and how I'd give tummy rubs to the pigs, and I would hold the chickens, and I would cuddle the turkeys, and I would be able to smell the horse's mane while I put my face against their neck. And that's how I would go to sleep every single night. So I knew the what and I knew the why, and I ignored the how. And yeah, it took me a long time, but when I met Mary the goat at that petting zoo and knew that I couldn't leave her, and I followed that impulse to stay until I found her, until I brought her home, and I followed more impulses till I brought more animals home from that petting zoo, and then I realized one day, oh my God, I started the gentle barn. That's how our dreams happen. And then I stood there going, oh my God, how am I going to afford this? And then I said, it's not my problem. And I made a deal with Spirit. I'm going to do this work and I'm going to work hard, but you got to pay the bills. And it's been 20 years now, and we both kept our end of the bargain.
That's so awesome. I love it. I love it so much. Oh, it's so important. Yes, the how, like, it's not our problem. We give it up, we give it up to the universe and trust and have faith. Yes. Amazing. So I guess we could finish with a question I've been asking a lot of the speakers, which is, what does it mean to you to be a visionary vegan woman?
It is my firm belief that it is the feminine energy that will bring this planet back into balance. I think that we were, as a primitive society, a matriarchal society, where the women were the shaman and the healers. They led prayer groups. They healed the sick. They helped the old cross over. They helped the young come into the world through birthing. It was very much a matriarchal society, and those stories of following your intuition and knowing who you are and having gifts and being connected to our angels and guides and being connected to our own intuitions, that was handed from mother to daughter, mother to son. I mean, it was handed down from generation to generation through stories. And then we went through a shift in our culture where it turned to a very patriarchal society, where the shaman and the matriarchs were burnt at the cross and shut down and disempowered. And it became a patriarchal society that said you need a man to give birth, and you need a man doctor to tell you how to heal your own body, and you need a priest to talk to God because you can't talk to Spirit on your own. And it kind of took all the power out of us. And now we're very much a society where we're told what to eat, and we're told what to believe, and we're told what to think, and we've lost ourselves. We've lost our connection to animals. We've lost our connection to nature. We've lost our connection to ourselves. And I mean, you see it in our rate of depression, and our rate of drug and alcohol use, and our rate of divorce, and our rate of suicide. We are a suffering society. And not only are we suffering, but the animals are suffering alongside us, and so is this planet. And so we absolutely cannot continue the way that we are. We have got to awaken. We have got to turn this around, and we have got to bring back the feminine. And so really it rests on every single one of us as women. It rests on our shoulders. We have got to be the one to awaken to knowing that we're connected to all living beings. We are not separate. We are one. We need to awaken to our own gifts and to our own powers, and we need to stand certain in them and not apologize for them and not be afraid of them or embarrassed about them. We need to raise the next generation to know who they are, to remember why they've come, and to follow those impulses and intuitions like we're learning to do, but we should start with our children and raise them to do it from the beginning, and believe in them. Believe in them. When we're raising future generations, we are not here to teach them. They are here to teach us. They know who they are. They know why they've come. And it is our job to support them and to embrace them and to follow their lead. We should not take the lead. They need to take the lead, and we need to support them. And because they know who they are. So if they want to learn science, we support them. If they want to be in nature, let's take them out in nature. But we as parents need to follow their impulses so we can embrace who they are, so that they know who they are and they can do what they've come here to do a lot earlier than it took us to do it, because we're still trying to figure out who we are. Yeah. And we need to know as women that everything that we say and everything that we do and however we show up in the world has a ripple effect. Everything. So, I mean, don't doubt the power of looking into someone's eyes and smiling at them as you pass them by. That can save their life. Don't doubt the power of just having a conversation with a complete stranger on a train or a bus, and you think nothing of it, but maybe it completely changes the trajectory of their life and puts them on the path that they were designed to be. Everyone we meet, we can leave them with a gift. We can leave them with a smile. We can look them in the eye like they matter. Everything that we do, we can show up as enlightened or not. So, and everything that we do has a ripple effect. So it goes from us to the person that we just interacted with, and from them to the next person. And so we can ripple out peace, and we can ripple out goodness, and we can take the high road, and we can have compassion even for someone that we don't really like. And we can nurture someone that might be really angry. Like, from the minute we wake up, we can be better than the day before. And we can ask for more enlightenment, and we can ask for more guidance, and we can ask to be more connected than the day before. And that's how every single day we kind of become bigger and bigger and bigger in our own spirits. And we can really turn this thing around. And, you know, a lot of people look at what I do and they think, God, you know, I wish I could start my own sanctuary. I wish I could do what you're doing. And, you know, not everyone can quit their job and raise the money and start a sanctuary. You might not have your own land, or you might not have the funds, or you might be doing something else. You might be raising a family. But I just want to kind of highlight the importance of how powerful and impactful we are as individuals right where we are. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need to move. You don't need to get rid of your husband and kids. Right where we are powerful, and we are effective, and we are changing the world right where we are. Literally right where we are in our own day. We can pick up trash, even if it's not our own. We can give water to a wilted flower or a thirsty tree. We can put food out for a hungry animal or a hungry person. We can look someone in the eye and give them a smile to a stranger for no reason. We can raise our children to be kind. We can raise our children to bring bugs outside instead of step on them. We can raise our children to smell flowers and enjoy them together instead of pick them and watch them die. We can train our children to hug trees and feel their energy and realize that they are more powerful than we know. We can train children to watch seagulls at the beach instead of chase them. And then obviously the most effective, most powerful thing that we can do as individuals is go vegan. When we're vegan, we reduce our own risk of cancer and Western diseases by 90%. We save 1,100 gallons of water a day. We save an acre of trees every single year. And we save 200 animals a year, which is thousands of animals over the course of one lifetime. And I just wanted to say one last thing. We are a society set up by economics to believe that we have to exploit, enslave, and eat animals to survive. And it's not because it's healthy, and it's not because it's good, and it's not because it's what we're meant to do. It's literally because the 0.1% of the population that owns animal ag is making money. That's it. It is a conglomerate. It is making money for the 0.1%. That's all it's about. The really good news, though, is that as individuals, when we go vegan and when we inspire others to go vegan and when we share delicious vegan food with people and we share nutritional facts and we help awaken gently other people, just from demand, we will turn big business into producing vegan food. So big business might be controlling us right now, but the more of us awaken, we will control big business and we will bend them to our will to produce vegan food. And so it is, in my opinion, only a matter of time before we have that gentle world. It is a certainty. It is a certainty that we will see the dairy industry, the meat industry, and the enslavement of animals disappear in our lifetime. Obviously, because it's good for the planet, good for our bodies, and good for animals. But that aside, if you look at purely from an economic standpoint, we are in this mess because of economics. And economically speaking, the minute, and it's happening as we speak, the minute animal ag realizes that it's much cheaper to get milk from an almond and much easier to get a plant-based meat, for economic purposes, it's all going to go vegan. And then medically, we're all going to get healthy. So we all play a part in that. Every single one of us plays a part in that. And that's the exciting news, because together we are going to turn this around, and together we are going to heal this planet, and together we are going to liberate the animals, and together we are going to heal our bodies. And it happens with every single solitary one of us awakening to who we are, to the connections inside ourselves with every other living being, and then lifting up everyone else as we go throughout our day. And we can all do that right from where we are.
Ah, woohoo! Yes. You aren't fired up. I don't know what gets you fired up, but I know I am. I'm ready to take on the world right now with this. Thank you so much, Ellie. Oh, it's so true. Everything you're saying is just so true. And yeah, I mean, we have all the power it takes to create the world that we envision. And, you know, voting with our dollar is one of the most important decisions and choices you can make. So start spending wisely, and sooner than we know it, we will see that gentle world we are all hoping for and wishing for. Thank you so much, Ellie. This has been just amazing. I would like to let everyone know where they can find your book. I guess I'll put the link down below the video to where your book is sold, as well as your website. And I also have a fun announcement for the audience. So although this event is totally free the first week it airs, it will be available for purchase so you can gain lifetime access. And when you do, I will be donating 10% of the net profit of the series to the Gentle Barn. So so not only will you have access to these amazing inspirational videos wherever you want on demand, you can feel great knowing you're already taking action as a visionary vegan woman and making meaningful contribution to helping animals and humans in need. So it's definitely a win-win. So Ellie, again, thank you so much for everything. Your wisdom just shines so bright and just has, you know, my heart just opened. My heart chakra has just completely opened, and I feel so much hope from your talk. Because it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole of, like, you know, the suffering, the pain, the hopelessness, you know. But yeah, everything you're saying is really, I have goosebumps all over my body, and I know it's true, and we can do this. We can do this. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and we'll see you again next time.